You look in the mirror every morning and recognize a stranger. Instead of vitality, there is a quiet, gnawing rot in your chest. It is the realization that you are living a script written by ancestors you never met, performed for peers you do not respect. Psychologists call this the persona. It is an adaptation mechanism. Your authentic self is the dynamic core, which slowly gets encased by a rigid shell of social compliance. This mechanism is highly useful. Once that shell locks into place, it allows you to navigate the world safely as the dutiful child, the good citizen, or the reliable employee. But you make a lethal psychological error when you believe you are the mask. When the mask becomes your actual skin, it begins crushing the soul underneath. We often mistake this persona's harmlessness for actual virtue, but being good simply because you are too afraid to cause friction isn't morality, it's compliance. This goodness is often a mask for a lack of courage, a paralysis born from fearing the judgment of the mediocre. If you continue to choose this path of least resistance, you guarantee a final destination of total insignificance. The intense friction you feel, the constant anxiety, the sudden bouts of depression, is not a malfunction of your biology. It is a signal. It is your own potential trying to violently break through the concrete of your conditioning. Nature demands growth, and it will extract that growth at the absolute expense of your comfort. To channel that friction into power, we look to the work of Carl Jung. Jung introduced the concept of the shadow. This is the psychological basement where you store every instinct, desire, and trait that society taught you to hate and repress. A person who is utterly incapable of being dangerous is not a moral person. They are simply a sheep. True morality requires you to have the immense strength to be a monster and the absolute discipline to keep that monster on a leash. By acknowledging your capacity for darkness, you cease to be its victim. You begin to direct that internal intensity toward the construction of a life with genuine weight. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche provided the exact existential framework for this transition. He described humanity as a rope stretched directly over a massive abyss. We are suspended halfway between the instinctual animal and the Übermensch, the ideal human who creates their own values. You are standing in the dead center of that rope. Retreating to the animal you were is impossible, but if you stand perfectly still, you guarantee a fatal fall. Moving forward requires deliberate isolation from the noise of the crowd. Imagine a library at midnight, complete silence. This is where you sit entirely alone with your discomfort. Here you execute a ruthless audit of your mind. You hold up every single conviction and ask, is this belief mine, or was I told to believe this? You will discover that most of your fears are ghosts, and most of your desires are just advertisements. Escaping the abyss requires you to actively burn this colonized identity to the ground. The only path out of the abyss is the radical, agonizing destruction of the person you currently pretend to be. When the fire burns out, you are left standing in the ashes of your old life. The demolition is over, but the vast emptiness that follows requires an anchor to endure. Psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor Viktor Frankl provides that anchor. Frankl observed what he called the will to meaning, the psychological reality that humans are primarily driven by the search for a core purpose. If you can locate a definitive why for your existence, you can bear almost any how, including the suffocating weight of your own psychological deconstruction. Armed with that meaning, you begin sifting through the remaining ashes. You are looking for the indestructible fragments of your actual, unscripted truth. This is the work of the sovereign architect, a self built not on the shifting trends of a digital crowd, but on the bedrock of personal truth. This integration provides a psychological center of gravity, allowing you to reclaim your mind from the colonizing forces of the collective ego. The crowd will inevitably try to pull you back. They will insist your transformation is a kind of madness. Let them. There is a profound sanity in the person who has finally